So here's what I think. If you want to know as a man, if you're prepared for AI, I would argue that the first question you need to ask yourself is, how addicted are you to your car keys? And my honest answer is, I'm incredibly addicted to my car keys. For those of you who know me, who read this channel or have watched videos before, you'll know that I don't aspire necessarily to wealth. I only wear black clothing, unbranded black clothing. For the most part, I live like a significantly minimalistic life, and yet the honest truth is that I'm very, very, very addicted to my car keys. And here's why. I know this because I tried to give up car keys that made me feel cool for a small Honda Get. I drove it for about 3 to 4 months. It was my father-in-law's. I wanted to know if I as a man was secure enough. In other words, my ego was not so dependent on external factors that would enable me to drive a small car. So I drove it, and it was tiny and tinny, and I would arrive at a workplace or a work meeting, and other people would see me, or I'd put a Honda Get's keys on the table, and I just felt like a failure. That's the truth. And I couldn't shake that feeling. I couldn't shake the sense of my identity being linked to what I owned. And so I bought these car keys, which is a big, beautiful, manly Isuzu Bucky, and it makes me feel like a man. It makes me feel successful. It makes me not feel like a failure. When I arrive at a work meeting or a social engagement, I feel okay, you know. And I want you to pause for a moment and just consider, based on my honesty, how much of your external factors make you feel okay inside as a man. How much does your house feel like a factor? How much does your work feel like a factor? How much does your clothes, or the watch you wear, or the cologne you wear make you feel like a man? And here's where things get interesting. At the moment, we're preparing for AI by accumulating skills or tools. That's kind of like the big drive online, is how do we include this incredible tool into our lives in order to prepare ourselves? And yet very little questions are going, how do we prepare our identity for AI? How do we prepare our identity inside as men for AI? And how do we prepare this vulnerability towards our car keys for the disruption that AI will bring to our lives? And it's an incredibly simple and complicated question, because it's tied to the story of what we believe is a successful man. And here's the fascinating thing, is the story about what it means to be a successful man is relatively new. For the last 5,000 years, men as a rule have come into agreement with a story that says we are what we get. Or in the words of Scott Galloway, the essence of a man is how much he receives. The essence of a man is how much he receives. But here's the thing, is men are 300,000 years old as a species. And for most of that time, the story that men held to be true was a man is defined by what he gives. And the work of Joseph Campbell or Richard Rohr is probably the best reference to see that. And the story was so important and central to a man's mind because older men made sure that that was the case through the process of initiation, which we don't have time to go into now. But men were taught, they were trained. In many cases, they were broken to believe a narrative that says a man's value, a man's identity was defined by how much he gave rather than how much he got. And that allowed us to live in egalitarian societies, egalitarian meaning equal, in relationship with men and women. Our endocrine systems inside, our chemicals that made us happy, gave us meaning and purpose, we're informed in that. Over the evolutionary process, those things became locked in. And yet, as men, we today believe in a story that says what is most important to our identity is what we have and how much we get. And here's what's so fascinating about AI as a technology. What we know to be true, and this is based on the trends of technological evolution, is that it's likely going to disrupt employment in the short term for men. I mean, some factors, some extreme examples range to extreme unemployment for men and women. Some moderate ones say, 20, 30, 40% of men will lose their employment. And what does that mean? That means that for the most of us, the thing that gives us identity, the thing that gives us purpose and meaning, the thing that makes us feel okay and ability to wake up in the morning will be taken away from us. And our identities will not be ready for that challenge. Identities won't be ready for that challenge. We won't have done the work of initiating ourselves to believe that our role as men is to give more than we get. We'll be stuck in this boyish narrative that says it's our job to pile as much toys up as we can. And right now I'm standing in a township. It's a kilometer away from my home. The truth is, majority of my time, I do not spend thinking about this place. It's a K from my home because I'm, for the most part, focused on putting up pictures in my home, fixing the pool, making it beautiful, accumulating wealth at work. And so I ignore this reality. And like the car keys, that just illustrates what my story is, where the story is that gives me identity. And well, the one thing we know for AI is that is going to change relatively soon. And so my question to you today is, as a man, is will you prepare for AI by using it to outcompete? Do you believe that AI's evolution will be slower than your ability to use it as a creative entity, arguably an intelligence of its own kind? Will you ask yourself the question today is, what is my identity? Where does it find security? And how will AI impact that? And if that question sparks something inside of you, I want to suggest that you share this with those who might also ask that question and want to engage in a conversation that actually prepares them for AI. This is an incredibly important moment. As men, our fathers didn't necessarily initiate us, but this is an urgent moment to say we need to initiate ourselves. And we'll know when we've initiated ourselves, when communities like this are no longer on our peripheries, but are possibly in the center of how we're thinking about the world and its future. I hope that helps.